Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a fresh new episode of Compile the Technology podcast, helping you in your tech journey through art of creative storytelling. I hope all you geeks and nerds out there are doing absolutely fantastic. I'm your host, Ayan, and I know it's been a while since I last posted a podcast. And yeah, so the last podcast was regarding Google Summer of Code, the tips we got from Vipul and Prakhar, our last guests who are so fantastic that all of my team get selected in GSOC, and apparently they got busy, I got busy, and the podcast was down in the priority list already. So but now here we are back with a fresh new episode, and it's that time of the year where a lot of students around the country, around the world passes their high school and are now looking forward to get admission into university. So if you are one of them, this is the podcast which you wanted to hear, because on this one I'm gonna sit alone without any guest, but I'm gonna share my tips which I think you should do as a fresh university student. A quick disclaimer, these are the tips which are coming straight from me. So these are the things which I applied during my days of college. Some of them I was able to successfully implement when I was a fresh college student back in 2012. Some of them I really wish I would have implemented back then, but again I'm gonna share it with you. So if you think this is something that's gonna help you, do consider applying them in your life, and do let me know how that work out for you. So as I already told you, today we don't have any guests with us, and it's just gonna me sitting here all alone talking to you, sharing my tips. Starting with the very first one is to get a new email address. I cannot focus more onto this point, but we all are guilty at some point of having some crazy email addresses for ourselves. I am particularly was very guilty of using some insane crazy email addresses back when I was a school kid, and yes, the same won't be working in a college. So I would highly recommend you to go ahead, make a professional email address that sounds professional, that you can use specifically for your college tasks, which is not flooded by already thousands of spam emails, so you can easily figure out the working emails for you. And yes, so go ahead, make a professional looking email, share that in the college, share that with everyone where you expect your college related or work related emails would be coming. So that was my tip number one. Make a professional looking email and use that for the rest of your college days. Talking about my number two tip is to build yourself a workplace or a work desk, and I cannot stress again on this point that how important and how productive it is to have your own work desk that is built specially to serve your needs. So go ahead and make a work desk. This is especially for someone who are moving out of their homes and going to live in dorms or hostels or a flat near the college. So I would highly recommend you to build a work desk which is specially tuned to serve you, because it will save a lot of time for you. It will make you more productive. And if you are someone like me who cannot go and study in a library for examination, then again having a work desk would save you a ton of time and effort. So yes, please consider making a work desk for yourself and tune it for your needs. And what I mean by tuning it to serve your needs is, for example, if you are going to study electrical or electronics engineering in your college program, then you should make a work desk with a dedicated space where you can do some project. You can solder components, you can build circuit. Similarly, if you are from design school, then you need to make a workspace that is minimal and elegant and give you design inspiration, makes you more productive. If you are in a literature school, then your workspace should be having a good reading space, a good writing space. So yeah, tune it again for your needs. And I recently made a video of my work desk. If you wanted to check it out, then I'm gonna leave the links in the show notes, so you can go and check that out. So that was my tip number two: build your workspace, make it minimal and make it to serve your needs. Moving ahead, talking about my tip number three is stay updated and read a lot. Again, reading is something that you should bring it to your daily habits, and staying updated is the key to today's world. No matter what course or what degree program you're gonna do, you have to stay updated, and not only stay updated in your course, but also to stay updated what's happening around the world. And I have seen students indulging in studies so damn much that they forget what's happening around them, what's going on in the world, and that is not something I would recommend you to do. So do read and do stay updated. What you're gonna read is totally up to you. When I was in college, I used to read books which are related to my subjects and also some extra. For example, there were some subjects that were not into my syllabus, but I really like it. I really wanted to implement that in my daily workflow. So I bought some book, I lent some book, I borrowed some book from the library. movies, so you can read some books. I would also recommend you to read blogs. A good site where you can find a lot of interesting blog is medium.com. Also, if you are following some bloggers, you can put their RSS feed in your RSS reader application, and you will get notified whenever they post new blogs. So go follow some bloggers in your niche, in your domain, put their RSS feed in your RSS reader and stay updated. Reading blogs is again a good habit. There are also some sites which aggregate lots of blog and show you in one place. For example, my favorite for technology and DIY is hackaday.com. I'm gonna leave all the links I'm mentioning in this podcast in the show notes, so do check them out. So what I'm talking about is a blog aggregator site where you can find blogs from different people all on the one place, under one tag and category. These sites generally have a newsletter option where you can sign up and get notified weekly or daily and whatever services they provide. So at the end of the week, say Friday, you get an email of all the top grossing blogs and you can go ahead read them. I would also recommend you to make an account on Quora.com, follow topics which interest you and read about them. Quora is again a good community of like-minded peoples. You can follow, you can read about it, you can answer them, you can help them. It's like basically a forum, and you can choose what topics to follow and what people to follow on Quora. Other than books, blogs and Quora, you can also go and follow some of the particular subreddits on reddit.com and stay updated on what's happening around the world. So that was my tip number 3, to read a lot and stay updated. So no matter what college or degree course you are going to, ultimately you are willing to have a professional career out of that. That is why you are studying this. So I would highly recommend you to, if you haven't already, then go ahead, use that email ID which you made after listening to my tip number 1 and make a new LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is basically a professional network of people. It's like a social network of all the professional people. So make a profile on LinkedIn, update your education background and everything. Going ahead, when you will be doing internships and jobs, then you also have to update that on the LinkedIn. And using LinkedIn, you have to build a network of professional people. LinkedIn is like the first impression which you share in the professional world. So I would highly recommend you to have a professional looking LinkedIn and use it to build your connections going ahead. One more thing I used LinkedIn for during my college days was to ask my professors for recommendation whenever I was writing some thesis under them or I'm researching under them. Then on the successful completion of that, I often ask them to leave a recommendation on my LinkedIn page, and that helped me a lot. So again, have a good LinkedIn profile, make it look professional, ask for recommendation to people who you think are good enough to recommend you, and use it to build your network, and that may help you land an internship or a job and whatever you are looking for in professional world. Talking about building network, my tip number 5 is entirely on that, and the best way to build network is to attend events. And what I mean by events is find a local meetup group, find conferences happening in your city, look for hackathons and go attend them. So basically conferences are the most professional event where you can go and meet people of your industry, meet people of your domain, you go network with them. Similarly for meetup groups is basically more focused on meeting like-minded people for the purpose of learning and teaching. I would highly recommend you to join meetup groups in your city. I would highly recommend you to keep an eye on different conferences and events happening in your city and do attend them if that interests you. This need not necessarily have to be entirely of what you are studying in college. For example, you are studying computer science engineering, but electrical or IoT or embedded system is something that interests you, then you should attend conferences and meetups of that domain as well. Also, I would highly recommend you to attend hackathons and participate in hackathons. What happens in hackathon is you go and pitch your idea to solve a problem, you build a team and you build a solution in a constrained time, for example a day or two, and at the end of the hackathon there would be some people from different domains that gonna judge you, and you might get some good rewards if you win. So hackathon, conferences and meetups are really great way to build your network, and that is where you also have to share your LinkedIn profile which you made using my previous step, so you can link up with the people of your industry or your domain and you keep building your network. By the time you graduate, you already have a good number of people who you know who could recommend you. So yeah, do attend conferences and build network. A sub tip on this one which I cannot focus more is to attend college fest. This is my favorite part of my engineering undergrad course. When I was studying engineering back in 2012, my favorite part was to look for different college fest and go there and attend and participate and compete. So every college has some sort of fest. They could be technical fest, they could be sports fest, or they could be cultural fest. So I would highly recommend you to go there, go to their fest and see different things happening in their college. And what I mean by going to their fest is to see other university culture. So if you're wondering for what reason I used to attend college fest of different universities, then there were basically two main reasons. Number one is I got to travel, which I really enjoyed. So if a college is in some other city, I used to go there to attend their fest. I got to experience a new city, their culture. I really enjoyed doing that. Number two is I get to meet a lot of different people from different mindset and different culture, and there is always a cross-pollination of thinking, of ideas, and especially in big fests like IIT Kanpur, IIT Bombay, there are people who are coming from all over the country with some ideas. I remember attending BITS Pilani Technical Fest, the apogee, for 3 straight years, and there were people from all over the country, from IITs, from NITs, and they were making some good projects. The technical fests were really good. You get to have some ideas of what's going in different colleges, what are different cultures of different colleges. Other reason is also you get to meet professors of that college. So for example, once I attended the technical fest of IIT Kanpur, and there I met one of the professors whose research paper I was actually reading in my curriculum back in college. I got to meet him in person, I got to talk to him in person. Similarly, when I was attending BITS Planning Technical Fest, I got to meet Professor Walter Levin, who is famous physics professor from MIT, whose videos of physics experiment doing during the class really amazed me. And I got to meet him in person. We talk about cosmos and black holes and gravity and whatnot. So that was only possible because I decided to go and attend college festivals and different college events. So I would highly recommend you to do attend college fest. I would also make a blog on different college fests going around India, which you should attend. That's mostly technical, which I am aware about, but if you're also into cultural and sport fests, then you can always Google and find it about different fests going around the country. So that was my tip number 5. Moving ahead to my tip number 6 is join college clubs and societies. So every college has some clubs and societies which I would highly recommend you to join and volunteer for. For example, there are some cultural clubs which focuses on music, art and dance. There are some sports clubs which focuses on games like cricket, basketball, football. There are some organizational club which helps college committee to organize a festival, which goes out to bring sponsor for their fest and help organize everything. So every college has some kind of these societies and clubs which I would highly recommend you to join and help them, volunteer them. And as you go in the senior year, you also become an integral part of this club and all the activities related to that club. I don't think there is any college who doesn't support these kinds of activities, but again, if there is no clubs and societies in your college, then I would highly recommend you to start your own. You can start your own club, a cultural, organizational or sports club. You can also start a FOSS group which can organize meetups in your college and bring everyone from the city maybe every weekend or once in a month. You can also start some sort of club that helps NGOs during weekend. For example, build a team, go to NGOs and teach underprivileged students, or you can start collecting donations from your school for that NGO. So that was my number 6 tip. Do join some clubs and societies, and if you don't have, then start your own. Moving ahead to my tip number 7 is to start planning your internship from the very first year. And I know this is a contradictory point, and a lot of you would be thinking that internship is something that has to be done in the final or pre-final year of your degree program. But again, from my experiences, from someone who has done internship in all the 4 years of my engineering program, I could tell you that this is the best thing that you can do is plan your internship starting from the very first year or very first semester, because internships are really important to shape you as an industry professional. And when most of the students would be doing internships in third year and final year, then you would be having a chance to stand out because you already have a couple of internship experience if you already start from very first year. So I did my first internship right after my first semester, and I have been doing internships in all my semester during my undergraduation time, and that really paid off really well. By the time of my last internship, which is of 6 months, I already have lots of connection in my field. A lot of people would be ready to recommend me, and in third year, people who goes for first time internship, they tend to learn first how a company works, how different processes of company works. But if you are doing internships starting from the first year, then you already know how a company function, what are different protocols or general things which all company follows. So you can focus more on your thesis or more on your work or more on your final year project during your last internship, because you do not need to learn that. You already know all of these things. So I would highly recommend you to start planning your internships starting from the very first semester. How you can plan is, you already did have a professional email, right? You already did have a professional LinkedIn. You are already attending conferences and events and meetup groups. So you can plan by using that network which you have built and ask people for internships. Also, by the time you are about to graduate, you already have a lot of experience from all the internships you have been doing till now. You have a lot of people who have provided you recommendation. You have a solid network of people who would be ready to help you get a job, who would be ready to help you in your venture, who would be ready to provide recommendation if needed, and that is where internships help you out. Also, during that time, if you anyway plan to go for higher studies, then these people can write letter of recommendations for you, which are really important. So yes, do consider doing internships from the very first year and plan it out right. And by the way, if you want some tips on how to get a good internship, then let me know in the comment section of this video down below, and I would be happy to make it for you. Moving ahead to my last tip, number 8, is don't forget the fitness. And I just cannot stress more onto this point, because I have seen people who indulge in their studies, their assignment, examinations so damn much that they forget about their fitness. So my recommendation to you is don't forget about your physical fitness and your mental fitness, because if you do, you tend to have anxiety, stress, mental breakdown, and useless pressure that would bring you down. So do all the necessary things, but don't overdo them. Don't stress about them. Enjoy a healthy, fit life, because a fit body is the very first prerequisite of doing everything. So what you can do is, you can have a workout routine. You can work out daily. You can meditate. You can do yoga. You can play sports. Different things which will keep you physically and mentally active is really important for your body to function. So that was my tip number 8, to have fit. And that was all the tips I wanted to share it with you, which I personally think that you should do as a fresh college student. I know that when you join a college, the only thing that is in your mind is to study hard, to get good score, get into good books of professor, and be a good and bright student. But again, these are small things which everyone forgets, which would make you stand out of the crowd. So I tried to compile this in this small video and podcast. I hope you find it really useful and helpful, and let me know in the comment section down below if you have any other tip. You can provide the feedbacks of this podcast on our Instagram channel, that is decompile_. All the links I have mentioned in this podcast and this video you can find in the show notes and description below. Once again, congratulations for successfully completing your 12-14 years of whatever education you had, and welcome to the professional world. Hope you have an amazing time in college and university, and you get what you are hustling for. On this note, I'm gonna end this podcast / video with the hope that it will definitely help you in the future. Do leave a like down below, subscribe to my channel, hit that bell icon, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.